Yeah, my name is Sakine Wielamson, originally Michelle, and I am 24 years old and live in Denmark. I was born and raised here in a non-Muslim family, but when I was about 12, 13 years old, I got interested in Islam. And actually, at first, it wasn't really Islam I got interested. It started around 9/11, where there was the attack which the whole world know of, and I could feel from my parents that it was a big thing. It was a huge thing happening, so I got quite afraid. And I went into my room, and I had this phone which wasn't really plugged in anyway. But I took the phone and I called for help. So I called any god that I knew of. I called on Jesus. I called on even Dalai Lama and Allah and every god I ever knew of. But the place where my interest really was getting seriously was at a summer camp at school, where we've been out playing out all night, and the next day I went into a room, and two boys are standing there on the sajadat with the distashat on and a kufi, and they were praying. And I got so stunned and amazed by these two small boys. They might have been 12 years old or something. And it was so amazing to see them being so humble, to actually lower their forehead down on the ground. And I knew they were praying to God, but I've never seen anything like it, that you actually lower your whole being in order to praise God like that. And I was very fascinated by that. So I started, after they prayed, I started to ask them, and we sat for several hours to sit and discuss and why they do that. And these boys were actually able to explain. And I never knew, because they never talk about Islam or that they are Muslims. They were just like any other kids in the class. So that fascinated me a lot, and they helped me a lot from that day. But it wasn't really a turning point when I became Muslim. It was more like a development. Okay, now I actually see that there is a God, and I believe in all the prophets. So I actually took the jump very, very quickly after that. I was convinced. I read all the books about any religion, because Islam was like something very horrible. It's only the terrorists and the fundamentalists who stood behind 9/11, and I didn't want to become like that. So I went to all the libraries, and I emptied them from all the books there was about Islam and even Buddhism and Christianity and all the religions. And I really found out that Christianity, there were so many things that I didn't agree with. And when going to church before being baptized, I was actually the only one who wasn't getting baptized, but I still was there to all the lessons, trying to figure out and be sure that this is not for me. So I asked the priest, and I think she became crazy by all my questions. And I asked her, so how come that if God knows everything and he created the earth, how come he sent a messenger with the Bible if it says in the Bible that the earth is flat? How come? Doesn't God know himself? And there was so many questions, like the whole Trinity principle, that I didn't really agree of, that I didn't really find logical. So I asked a lot about it, and she couldn't really answer. And in the end, she sent me on to another one who said that in Christianity you just have to believe. You don't have to question so much. There's no logic in religion. It's just faith. So yeah, that was that was really, it was so clear for me, because I was raised in Danish society and Danish culture where it's very scientific. There is the scientific way, and then there's the religious way. And the people who are not religious, they're not scientific, and the people who are scientific, they're not religious. And so when I had to choose religion, I knew that I would have to choose something where the one who created the earth actually just confirms and affirms the whole science point. So I really found that in Islam, that it's not a contradiction. It's actually at the time where Islam really rose up with the Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him and his family. When he came, even the science and the mathematics and everything was just empowered, not like Christianity where it was darkened and where it was oppressed. So this fascinated me a lot, and I was quite sure, both spiritually and convinced with my aql, with my sense of logic, that that Islam was like the whole package. It's not just the spirituality. It's not just the science. It's not only some point. I can see and I know that all the world religions, they have some truth in them, but Islam is the whole package. It has aspects of society. It has politics. It has the spiritual point. It has the social point, the human point, the akhlaq point with moral behavior, and the loving point, the love of God and why He created us from His love, from His rahmah. So I was quite convinced in an early age that that this was the way to go. So I took my shahada actually with a Sunni Muslim of my friends, and I asked her, "Can you please teach me how to pray? Because I really love this way of praying, and I always made dua, but it's more like a Christian prayer. So I would love to learn how to pray." And I read in all these books how Muslims pray 5 times a day and these things, and she told me that you are Danish, so you can't pray. Like, it's not for you. It's only Arab people who pray. So it took me a lot of years to actually get into Salah. So in like 3-4 years, I was just a Muslim who didn't eat pork and was, these things. But I was in my hijab, and my parents told me that when you get 18, when you turn 18, you can do whatever you like. But right now you are in our custody, so you're not gonna become a Muslim now. You're not gonna wear hijab and all these things. But when I was around 15, 16, my parents had moved, and it was to a city where there was no Muslims whatsoever, and the only contact I actually had with Muslims was with a guy from Bahrain who used to go in my class as well, and he was actually the only one talking to me about Islam, and he was the only source of the spiritual point in my life. I read all the books there was to read in the library. I didn't really know how to get more knowledge, so I got it from him. And although I had a lot of contact with him, I needed to be around Muslims. I could feel that I wanted to go to the next step. I want to develop. So I told my parents that I want to go to take my A-levels in a place where there was a lot of Muslims. They didn't know that, of course. I just told them I want to go to this college, and I was accepted to go to that college, which was quite far from my home. And the first day I went, I met a girl who now still to this day is my best friend and who taught me so much. And a few months later, I decided that now it's the time to embrace the hijab. In the beginning, I wasn't convinced at all that hijab was the right thing. I thought it was primarily a cultural thing. But I was little by little convinced through many experiences that I had, that this was actually not oppression, but it was protection of the woman. It was the status, the high status of the woman that enabled us with our hijab. So I decided to wear hijab, and I sat in front of my parents, and I told them this Tuesday, the 1st of Ramadan, I'm going to start to wear hijab. And I was 16 at that time, at that point. And my dad was like, no, you're not going to wear hijab. You're not going to take this scarf on, and you're not going to wear it in this house. And I was like, no, I'm not going to wear it in the house. And he thought I was showering with it and was supposed to sleep with it and everything. I said, it's only when I go outside. And they still insisted that you can do this when you turn 18, not now. But I knew as well that Allah wants you to satisfy your parents and make them happy and really praise them, but to the extent where it doesn't go against his words and what is best for humankind. So I started wearing hijab, and for around 2 years, I didn't really see my dad outside. I saw him when I came home, but he told me that I'm not allowed to go outside with him. So every time that I went outside the house, I would wear like this woolen hat with a jacket up to here so you couldn't see my scarf, and I would take my jilbab a bit up and have a long jacket. And as soon as I came in the escalator to my A-level course, I would quickly take the jacket off and take my hat off. And I guess that might have been quite funny for the people like walking beside of me, seeing a girl with a weird hat and a long jacket, and the other moment outside of the elevator suddenly with hijab. But it was like this for a few years, and then I didn't see my family. I didn't see my extended family. I didn't see all of our family friends that I grew up with. It was quite a hard period, but from day one, from wearing my hijab, I just felt so protected and so blessed that I knew, and that was my friend who I met at this college the first day. She told me as well that when you take a step, you know, the hadith, that when you take a step towards Allah, He takes 10 towards you. And I could really feel that as long as you take decision on the path towards Allah, He's always with you. Even though you have so many hardships with your family, your friends doesn't want to see you anymore because you're not exciting, you don't drink anymore, you don't party anymore, they don't want to be with you. But still, like you have Allah, you have the one who created you. You don't need anymore. And a few days after, something happened that really confirmed this belief and that feeling I had with being blessed. And it happened with this brother from Bahrain. He came to Denmark again. He studied for a few years in Bahrain, and he came back here to study and take his college. And he was 16 years old at that time. And he texted me and said, "I'm in Denmark now, so I wanna meet you. I wanna just see you." And I was like, "Oh, but I wear hijab now, and we are boys and girls. We're big now. We're not small like we used to be in school. So we shouldn't really meet." And he was like, "But I really want to. Can't we just as a coincidence, like just randomly go past each other?" And I was like, "Yeah, we have a lot of time. Inshallah, we live for 100 years, so there will be time enough." And then, subhanallah, a few hours later, he came on the same station that I was on. He came down the stairs, and I went the other way up. And he saw me, and he was like stunned. Like this girl he went to class with for so many years, the normal Danish girl, is like suddenly, like she grew spiritually and now have embraced her hijab, and she can actually carry herself now. He doesn't have to carry me anymore. He was my only like source to Islam for so many years. Now I can actually carry myself, my spirit myself. And then subhanallah, I got a phone call next morning that while he was fasting and while he just prayed, he passed away suddenly. And they found out that there was actually nothing wrong with him physically. Allah yarhamu. And when his dad came to bury him, he came from Bahrain. His dad was looking at me and he was smiling while he was crying, and his son was lying in this coffin next to us outside of the masjid, and he said to me that Allah took my son, I guess it's just because he placed my son here to be a guiding angel for you, like an angel who is guiding you on the way. Where I came to think that actually all this time, like he is so blessed. We are so sad because we miss him, and his parents are so sad, but still, it is such a blessing that he doesn't have to be here anymore. He just turned baligh. He prayed for so many years. He fasted. He has such a high status with Allah, and as soon as he finished his mission, he was taken back to where he belonged. And that was really an eye opener for me, as well as knowing that we are not here forever. Because even though I was a Muslim and even though I was wearing hijab, I maybe didn't really realize what this life was about. Like that you are here very limited. You are here in a very limited period of time. And suddenly it's just, that's it. I can be sitting here and suddenly my time is up. So I need to always like work against my goals. That anything, and I would say that to not only Muslims, and I would give that as an advice to not only Muslims but non-Muslims as well, that whatever you want to accomplish in this life, whether worldly, spiritually, accomplish it now. Start working on accomplishing it now, because you never know. Never know if there's a tomorrow. So I learned a lot from this. Even though it was quite hard, and it was very hard for me to see all my studies and all the things that I do having a point because this life is so short. But it motivated me a lot in working with in society, with actually doing a difference in society, not only focus about your own life and where you have to go yourself. You actually have to work to make this world a better place, not only for you, yourself, and your family, but for your neighbors, for your community, for the whole world in general. So yeah, this was what I was trying to do. I was trying to say, okay, what do I want with my life? I felt like I had been young for the time I needed. I tried all these things with going to parties and going out with friends and like doing something, crazy stuff which I felt at the age of maybe 17 that I actually experienced enough of these things that doesn't get me anywhere. A lot of people would maybe say like a 17-year-old a 17-year-old Danish girl might be wanna dating, and before she settles down. I was actually quite sure that I want to marry now, and I want to settle down. And I was in college at that time, where a girl came to me, an Arab woman to be, and she told me that her fiance had a best friend in Stockholm, and he was a convert as well. So she wanted me to like speak to him. And I never imagined that I should marry a Swedish guy or a Danish guy. I always imagined, of course, like every other convert, to marry an Arabic guy or something. That's the stereotypical image you have of converts. They always marry Arabs or Pakistani, Middle Eastern guys. So I was a bit skeptical, and I was thinking, okay, if he's a convert, he converted like a few years earlier? Is he really sure? Does he have like? I was quite sure that maybe if I married one from Iraq or something, they've been brought up with Islam, so they are maybe much stronger and they have much more belief. So I was a bit skeptical, but I said, okay, he can get my email, he can send me one mail, and then let's see. And just by the first email, he told me that if you want a comfortable life with a lot of materialistic stuff, with a husband that has like a posh job and good cars and all these things, then don't answer this email, because I'm not going to give you that. I can't, because my goal in life and my goal with my wife is to reach towards Allah, not towards this world. And I wanna go and study Hausa. And this is not an economical life. It's not a very good situation with money when you study Hausa. But I want to grow spiritually. I don't want to grow materialistic. That's not important for me. And that was really where I found out, it doesn't matter where you come from. Allah gives hidayah to whatever. Like, even Muslims can maybe be astray sometimes and can focus so much in this life that they forget they have another one, which is the most essential and the most important. So I was quite sure that this was gonna be my choice, and we spoke a bit over email, and then he came, actually, so we could just sit and talk. And he came from Stockholm on Tuesday, and Friday we got married. Actually, we looked at each other and we were thinking, what, why not? There's nothing in our personalities or spiritually or anything we have towards each other that we have to like to get to know each other even more. We can actually get married and then take it from there. So we did that, and now we've been married for 7 years and have a beautiful son, alhamdulillah. So yeah, and I guess that our life is maybe like, it's a thing between a typical Arabic lifestyle and a typical Danish lifestyle, because we have so much from the Scandinavian culture. We don't have so much from the Arabic culture, because none of us are Arabic. But I guess it's special because we have Islam as an aspect into Danish lifestyle. So our food is the same. The way we have our chores in the home is like Danish culture and like the Islamic way of doing it. Like our Prophet did it, like our Ahlul Bayt did it. That they were together with the house chores. They were together with the children. They were together with everything. They had respect for each other. So we didn't take anything from any cultures, that this is the way we do it. We do it, mostly we attempt to do it from an Islamic perspective rather than a cultural. But I actually often get a lot of either comments or questions from people since starting wearing hijab, especially, that we actually don't have fun, where they think we actually, okay, now you are Muslim, you are married, you are at home, you're just, maybe they have a perception of Muslim men doing a lot of stuff outside, but the women are mostly at home and they don't do anything. They just take care of their kids, and they don't really go out and have fun. And actually, it's quite the opposite. It's mostly my husband who's at home, and he works and comes home, and I'm the one who goes out throughout the nights with my friends, and we have so much fun. We go to cinemas, go to eat on restaurants, have lots of maybe another conversation than non-Muslim would have maybe. We have a lot of philosophical discussions and stuff, but we have a lot of both dinner parties with all of our kids and where they are together, but also just having nights out for ourselves. And we do exactly the same as I would do if I was not a Muslim. It's just some other environments. Like with my friends, we might not go to a club, going to disco. We might just going to a cafe instead, and instead of eating at the barbecue, having a barbecue with pork, I would just have it with ribs from a cow instead. It's not that big of a difference. I don't feel that I lose out on anything. My social life is just as I wished, and Islam doesn't limit it at any